I hope you guys all had a great 2019, both professionally and personally in your guys' lives. I hope that's leaked into 2020 and you guys are starting off on the great foot. While I was doing some kind of goal setting over the last couple of days, I kind of looked back at my 2019 through myself and through Schall Consulting and just how am I doing? I was trying to assess, how did I do? And through that, I just kind of compiled a bunch of different stats and different kind of things that I wanted to talk about on this video, but also talk about some things that I have for goals for 2020. But before I get started in all of that, I want to thank you guys, all of you guys, anybody that has paid attention to me for, a few seconds, a few minutes, hours, even longer than that. I understand that your attention, your time is the most valuable thing that you own, and you gave it to me, and it humbles me that you would do that because you have a ton of different options today to give that attention to. So I don't take that lightly. I know that I have a lot of work to do to provide you guys with a ton of value for the time and attention that you're giving me. I'm going to continuously kind of focus on bettering myself so you guys can get the most out of the time that you give me. And I know that the more that I kind of create original content, that's what you guys know me as now in the industry. And though I don't consider myself a content creator in the traditional sense, I do realize that it plays a major role in my life today. And if anybody has ever kind of wondered why I started to put a lot of time into creating content, it goes back to like a simple thought, a way of life that I've always kind of held. And that is that I want to leave a place that I inhabit better than when I arrived. And that could be like a very simple thing. I do this all the time when I walk into a certain room or something and there's maybe a little bit of trash or something. I'll pick it up because I want to make sure that I leave that space better than when I arrived. So that's very simple. But what I'm talking about here with the content creation is that I came into an industry 10 plus years ago. I wanted to make sure that I had a voice in that industry. If I was going to spend all my time in a certain industry and really pour myself into it, I wanted to make sure that I could make an impact and better it however I could. And it took me a while to understand maybe my place in all of this. I worked and excelled on the brand side of the industry. I opened up a consulting agency, Schall Consulting, and I was working through where my voice was in the industry with the consulting company. But these last couple of years, I've really focused on creating content as well. And the content is really focused on the idea that when I'm doing my consulting, it's really very much one-to-one. It's very much, I'm helping one particular thing. And though that might be helping the industry on a small scale and incrementally over time, the more clients that I work with, when I'm creating content, there's a lot more scale that goes. There's a lot more opportunity for this to be spread much quicker, and it helps a lot more people on a bunch of different levels. So through this content, have really kind of focused on the idea that if I'm going to make an impact in the industry, it's going to be probably with the content that I create. That's going to be something that creates a lot more impact long-term over time. And I know I'm just like kind of tip of the iceberg in terms of where I think or where I'd love for this to go. But that drives me, that kind of motivates me to continue this and kind of work extremely hard to make sure that I'm providing the best content possible. And with all of this like kind of acceleration of content and just trying my best to both create more quality and quantity, I want everybody to understand I'm not giving up on Schall Consulting. It's actually the opposite. I'm still doing more than I did the year before, and I plan on doing more this year than I did the year before. And that's mostly because the consulting work that I do is really the fanatical root of the content that I create. I am super obsessive towards a ton of things in the market, strategy, tactics, through the full scale A to Z of business growth. So through that's what a lot of the inspiration of some of this content comes. So if I take away that, I actually take away the uniqueness that my content is focused on. But I did want to kind of just break down some stats I had for 2019. I'll start with just kind of Schall Consulting. I had 26 clients this year. That was up a little bit from last year. The clients came from 4 countries, mostly from the United States, obviously, that's where I'm based. But I did have a ton come from the UK this year. That was very much up from last year. My clients, the focal categories predominantly were food, beverage, and nutritional supplements. And these were far and away in the kind of better for you or like functional value added categories of food, beverage. So this was not like just traditional kind of food and beverage items. My largest proportion of clients came again from nutritional supplements. That's where I cut my teeth. That's still where I have my most contacts, and mostly coming from the sports nutrition side of things. But I would say that that doesn't really tell you the whole story, because I would say the majority of those sports nutrition clients were more geared towards what I consider more food and beverage. They were a little bit more diverse than your traditional caps, powders, pills, supplement, or sports nutrition brand. Food projects that I did work on ranged from protein bars, snacks, both on the sweet side and the savory side, keto-specific items, plant-based specific items, and CBD items. On the beverage products, they mostly came from energy drinks, RTD protein beverages, coffee, value-added water, and teas. This year, I helped clients launch more than 50 new products, which comes down to probably about 125 or so SKUs if you count all the different variants. I would say, recapping, the most talked about areas in terms of my content and the type of work that I did this year came from energy drinks that seemed to be extremely hot this year. Everybody was really trying to figure out beverages and energy drinks as a whole. And then also CBD. I talked about that a ton of different times. Like CBD, for my world, for whatever reason, like if I didn't go a day without somebody asking something about CBD, it was a crazy day for me not to see that. So though I didn't work on primarily a lot of CBD projects just because of the weird purgatory regulatory state, I would say that that is probably where the most interest and curiosity came from clients. Now, something I'm proud about, helped one client exit their business. I also helped 2 clients get funded, have a very large round of funding. So those were 2 things that I was really proud of this year. Now, moving into more of like the content creation side of things, I was able to meet hundreds of you guys through some of my social media, in person, at speaking engagements, on the phone, text messages, direct messages. I mean, there were so many different ways that people got a hold of me this year, and I got to meet so many new people this year. So I'm super excited about that. Super excited about just learning about new people, learning about new people's businesses or passions, and hopefully playing some role in it. Hopefully I can help them reach whatever their aspirations or goals are over the next couple of years. I tend to look at things much longer than like a year-to-year basis. I'm not a short-term thinker overall. So these people that I met this year, honestly, could be something that I work on 2 or 3 years from now. I'm not in a hurry to really lock down a lot of work a lot of times. I'm really just there to provide value best I can, however I can, because I know that eventually when there is a project that somebody needs my expertise for, I'm going to be the first person they think of. I also had 3 speaking engagements this year. That was up from last year. I wrote 75-ish original long form articles. So that was up from last year. I wrote, directed, filmed, and edited 125 YouTube videos. Woo, that took a lot of work this year, guys. I understand that that is a very strong piece of this kind of content flywheel that I'm creating, and I'm going to continuously put my effort towards that. But 125 videos in 365 days was about probably the top in which I could do, even though I'm going to try to push for more this year. I also launched a weekly podcast with my buddy Ryan Buckeye, the fitness informant. If you guys don't know him by his real name, I am super proud of that one. Much different content than my typical like personal stuff that I kind of create, even though it does have similarities to it. If you guys have not subscribed or checked out that podcast, it's called 2 Guys, 1 Shaker Cup Podcast. It is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. It's also on YouTube, so you guys can subscribe there. And just to round out, to talk about content, I posted more original daily content than I have ever in my life. And though that was extremely exhausting a lot of times, I loved it. I loved the engagement. I loved just having the ability to create conversations around unique things that I loved. The more that I realized, if I hold true to myself and really just talk about the things that I find most interesting in this world, it is amazing that you find people that have similar interests to you, that are interested in talking to you about those personal interests, professional interests that you have, regardless of how nuanced they are. So I'm excited about creating even more content this year, because that provides just more opportunity to meet people, engage with people, learn But what's up for 2020? What do I have in my head? First one that I kind of already talked about a little bit on this video is that I really want to push myself to not only create higher quality content, but also more quantity of that content. Because I know I'm only tapping the surface for what I can bring in terms of value. So for me to do that, the only way to do it is to build off the momentum of last year, this 2019, and really go and push hard in 2020. Second goal that I have is to speak more publicly. I do not think that I'm the best public speaker. I definitely don't think South by Southwest or TED conference or something like that should be knocking on my door for me to speak, but I'm working on that. That's my goal. That's my ultimate goal, is to continuously build, get better at public speaking, and book more opportunities. So I know that this year I do have a few that are already kind of lined up. The first one is in February, early February, with the Nutra Ingredients USA's Sports Nutrition Summit in San Diego. I would love it if you guys are coming to that to reach out to me before that so we can talk a little bit. But that's going to be the first speaking engagement that I have of 2020. And hopefully I can build off that and have a handful or more of them over the next year. One that I had on my list last year, again, some of these ones do have some continuation to them in my professional life, but this is around like accepting a board of directors seat. I have kind of been getting really close in terms of assessing some of those. I know that the first one that I want to accept is going to be one that I am really passionate about and I can really pour myself into. I think anybody that is on a board of directors needs to make sure they know that there's a fiduciary duty and they need to be totally engaged in that. And that's what I want to make sure that I have in that first one that I do accept. Another goal that I have of mine seems to be something that I always try to focus on, is to spend less time in my office here in Austin. This is a different office, so this might look differently than last year. I moved recently, but I want to make sure that I'm out to clients a lot more. I really feel like that's when I do my best work, is when I'm out with clients on the road. It's just a certain like pressure / different environment that really puts me in this like outside the comfort zone creative mindset, something that I really struggled sometimes to replicate in my day-to-day when I'm sitting in my office. So I'm going to try to do more of that next year. Hopefully my clients don't mind me visiting them a lot more than maybe the last year or the previous year before that. And then my last one is one that I'm going to have to be a little bit vague on, but I'm going to take one big giant risky leap towards something that I have on my 5-year plan. And I'm sorry that I can't really describe what that is, but what I'm going to say is that if you are into goal setting, if you have 1-year goals and you have 5-year goals and you have 10-year goals, if you can do the best you can to kind of get a little bit risky and have one of your goals for your 1 year kind of push you in a really uncomfortable state to get to that 5-year goal a little bit quicker, do it. Try it. Do the best you can, as long as you're set up for doing that. So I'm going to be trying my best to get that. I know I have a few things on my list that I'm going to kind of shoot my shot for and see how things go. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to help support me, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button on this video. If this is the first time you've been introduced to my videos, would love for you guys to be a part of my community by subscribing to my channel. I upload several videos just like this weekly. And if you guys want to connect further outside of this platform, I do include all of my social media links down below. I just want to thank you guys again for your time. Hopefully I gave you some value in return, and we'll see you guys on the next video.